Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew, and I have a fascinating show tonight. My guest is a Milab abductee or military abductee since the age of 6, a super soldier for the secret space program, and a mystery school student, Anthony Zender. How you doing tonight, Anthony?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I am excellent. And you have a very fascinating story. I'm excited to get into this. Let's start. So you have been a Milab abductee since the age of 6. When did you start remembering your experiences?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the thing is obviously I was remembering my experiences throughout my whole life. As a child, I was remembering experiences, but I didn't know they were experiences of being in the secret space program until I had learned that I was in the secret space program. Then I started to put together the puzzle pieces of the memories that I was remembering as a child, that those were actually indeed also missions and experiences I was remembering from the secret space program when I was around 16 years old. Because I've always been a lucid dreamer. That's what they look for, extrasensory perception, the ones that can go into the on the other side, into the astral. And that was part of the reason why I was recruited into the program, is because of those metaphysical abilities. And so for me, the memories really started returning to me when I got out of the Marine Corps, when I was 25 years old. And then I started having mission recalls where I would be, in fighting something. I would start remembering recalls where I would be in, skyscrapers, and I'd be fighting things that were just huge and throwing me through walls and stuff. And that was when I was starting to, get curious about what was happening. That was around 16 is when I really was when I got actually taken for my career to be started, for a 16-year career to be involved in black operations and time travel.
Okay, so before we get to that, let's start with your childhood. Tell us about your childhood. I mean, was it a normal childhood? What do you remember about it?
Yeah, for me it was normal, but obviously looking back, it wasn't that normal, because I had a grandfather who was actually he was an engineer, a top secret engineer. He designed robots, lasers, propulsion systems, things he couldn't talk about to his family. So this is like a generational thing, and it really did start with him, because our family was involved in already right there in the secret space programs, because he was part of building the engines in the compartmentalized program.
Were you from a certain bloodline?
I am. Yes, definitely. The Merovingian bloodline is where I've in the Essene, and that lineage
Okay.
is what my lineage is. So it started with him, working on top secret projects. And plus my grandmother is a naturopathic healer, and she's actually 80 years old, and she still has a business where she's teaching the healing, and this is the healing that they don't want anybody to know about. So you had my grandfather, who was an advanced engineer, and then you had my grandmother, who was a healer, and obviously that was they're both ETs, so they made my lineage, and that's where I come from. So as a child, I was always playing and always doing things and discovering things. But when I was around 6 years old is when a family was brought into my world, because I would just be playing every day. And then I like to say, this is where the Adjustment Bureau came in.
Okay.
Right. It does. It's a real thing. It does happen because they can adjust people's timelines and see where they're going to go and place things in people's lives to steer them.
Right.
And yeah, this was done to me. And when I was 6 years old, and I can remember these things because I can remote view, I can Akashic records, I can go back in my memories, I can see the whole lineage, the whole line, because I'm past lives, I'm having a life review, so I remember everything, and so I can go back now and see things that I couldn't see before. And so that family was placed into my life, and these three men were training to be pilots, all of them, and these, and it's kind of weird that they came to play with us, right? They were the ones to come to play with us.
Now,
And
you
they
were
would
breaking up for a second. What were you saying? Just go back a little bit.
They basically approached us. They
Okay.
came into the yard and were playing with us, as children, and
Oh, okay.
they were all three training to be pilots and in the military. Well, actually, one of them wasn't training to be in the military, but basically they were planted into my life so my mother would be attracted to one of them. you know,
Okay.
and so she was, she was, and she actually ended up marrying one of them, and then that steered my course of my life. And I saw them, the brothers, become Marine Corps pilots. And then that was where I was like, I'm going to be a Marine. That was, I saw them where they were, and I was like, I'm going to be a Marine. And then that's where that was some influence in my earlier childhood, by the powers that be, that are responsible for these secret programs.
Very interesting. And was there any other abilities or anything else different about you that you noticed as a child?
I've always been faster, stronger and smarter. Those things have always been prevalent in my life. Like I said, I was always the best. Like when I was a child, I was the lead in the school play. I was beating everybody in the runs. I went to high school. I was a state champion wrestler, undefeated, just like always the top of what I was doing. In the Marine Corps, I did graduate, like, pretty much top of my class. I mean, because in boot camp, you do have a platoon, and a platoon is about 60 men. And they obviously identify me for leadership, and they put me as what they call the guide, who is the leader of the platoon. And I got that position, and then for 3 months I was the guide of my platoon. And then all the guides actually they actually end up going in a competition with each other to see who is going to be the honorman, the company honorman, which is the top graduate. Unfortunately for me, I got second because my shooting score wasn't as well as the guy above me.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that they did, this was where this never happens, was out of boot camp, one lance corporal comes out, and that's the top graduate. They get the top rank, but they actually made an exception and gave me the same rank as well.
Oh.
And so that was also another thing where I was like, wow, that they're noticing something in me special,
So let's go back to these Milab abductions. Tell us your earliest memory of that, and just anything you can remember about those experiences, if any.
Yeah, definitely, because when I was having them, I didn't know I was having them, but I was talking about them with my grandfather, because at 6 years old, I have a specific memory of a hand coming and taking me out of my window. And that is a screen memory for Milab abduction. And I was speaking about it with my grandpa, and even at 6, I was writing stories about it, and we would joke around about it, because he would joke around about the hand coming through my window, and but it was actually an abduction experience, and that was the first one, you know, just the first ones, you know, when I was younger. But throughout my earlier childhood, I was noticing that I was getting bloody noses, like periodically, you know, and I thought at the time that, you know, it was just a hey, you know, my nose is just bleeding because it's hot out or whatever. But now having the knowledge and information that I know now, those were all abduction experiences where, you know, they were putting in implants because they were taking me to the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases, because this secret force does come and take people out of their. I mean, it's a special force. It's a black op, you know.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, these guys are like special, like, yeah, and so and take them to deep underground military bases and advanced technology, and then they, you know, put the implants in. They put the PPAI, which is predatory pathological artificial intelligence. That's the black goo. You know, that's basically the AI. They inject people with AI and stuff like that. And that's what they were doing to me, getting me ready for my career that I was going to be starting later on in my life.
Now, I've heard of some super soldiers and Milab abductees that have gone through experiences, horrible experiences, where they had to have their personalities split. Now, have you ever gone through anything like that? Do you know if you have alters?
Yes, I do. Because in this thing, you go through the MK Ultra programming as a child. They do that. I've been drowned. You know, I have memories of being locked in a box and drowned. That's where they're looking to split the personalities, and also what's called a soul retrieval. That's also how they get your soul to leave your body, so they can capture it, so they can it's part of the soul transfer tech, which is part of the cloning. And so I do have memories of them drowning me. I have memories of them raping me. And you know, I have in this process of learning all of this, you are searching for answers, and I actually have got into contact with a agent from the Alien Contact Intelligence Organization, who has the files of just all the Milabs and what's going on behind the Milabs, and this is where I'm getting all my information as well. And basically where was I going with that? Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
So you actually got to see these files?
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Well, the thing is I have not seen the files because they're part of a database that is, you know, is extraterrestrial. And so the information that is coming from them is definitely of a way higher, you know, source. But I've been in contact, and the information that is coming from these files makes everything make sense. So, I mean, that is how you know that the information is what is going on. And I have talked to the person with my files, and I forgot what I was going to talk about with the MK Ultra. Oh yeah, over 2,000 alters. I have 2,000 alters. Yeah, and I do have memories and missions of just all kinds of different things that I'm doing that all these alters would be needed for. So
now, how do you know that your memories aren't just screen memories or false memories that they've implanted? How can you tell the difference, you know, between your real experiences and these implanted memories?
That's a good question, because, you know, it's a process, because I've been alive for 33 years, and you know, you're remembering these things, and some of them, you know, are screen memories to cover what has really happened, but there are leak throughs. If I may explain, there are leak throughs of what really happened that make you be able to get that it's actually not a screen and that it's really what it is. And I'm not just one to say, okay, this is a real memory, this is not. I go through very a lot of work to identify what is a memory, what's a dream, and all of that. So
now, before your actual experience in the secret space program, were you ever approached by any, let's say, government officials, men in black, or anything that you can remember like that?
yes, I was, because I've been approached a lot, but when I was starting to wake up, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I did go to the VA. But when I was talking to the psychiatrist, I started talking about the abduction experiences I was having, because at the time I was starting to feel things around me. Like when I was going to sleep at night, I would feel my whole consciousness be lifted out of my body like in a swirl and then returned. And then, I was just having all of these experiences and all these extrasensory perception experiences, because I was waking up to being in the program, because I had no idea before. But obviously all these supernatural things were happening to me, and that was when I realized that I was part of the program. And then I went into the VA and talked to the psychiatrist there, and I actually walked in there with an extrasensory perception book. And when I was speaking with him, I wasn't talking about Iraq or the war, or how messed up I was or anything like that. I was talking about my abduction experiences and just supernatural things. And the funny thing that happened was the psychiatrist told me to come back the week later. And when I showed up, there was a man there. And so this man was definitely there. He was definitely there for me. And he comes and approaches me, because that's how they're the men in black. They're part of the secret space program, is because they'll come and approach you, because no one does that out in the world. Right. So he came and approached me, and he starts talking about military things. He's like, oh, I was a commander in the Navy, and I've been on subs and all these aircraft carriers and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, man, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, what about you? What about your experiences? And, what have you been through and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I've been to Iraq and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's deep. But what you've been through is only the tip of the iceberg. and I was like, I didn't know what yet he was talking about. Right. But he kept saying that. He kept saying, what you've been through is only the tip of the iceberg. And he's like, you know how easy it would be to get a nuclear bomb into the United States? And I'm like, he starts talking about really sensitive things. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, also, if we're up to me, I would definitely assassinate the president of Iran. And I'm like, whoa, okay, what is going on here? And so he starts talking about those things. And, the funny thing is about that memory, is I don't remember talking to the guy I actually went to go get scheduled to talk to. I think I got abducted then too, because I remember some things around me, some feelings, and I actually don't remember speaking to the psychiatrist again. Wow. And so that's missing time too. Plus that guy told me to get in contact with him, because I was awakening obviously to being a super soldier. And he basically, I didn't get in contact with him because, I was in that point in my life, I was young. I was, not really following through on things. And he basically, I went to a church one time, and then the same guy is there, and he's talking to a person that I know from high school when I get there, and he's there before me. So they knew I was going to be there. And then, so we go through the church service, and basically the guy asked me if I need a ride home. Wow. And I'm just like, yeah, I do, because I'm walking. And so he gives me a ride home, and I ask him, I'm like, we're in this crappy truck, And I asked him, I'm like, so what do you do? I'm like, what do you do for work or a job? And he's like, oh, I'm a berry farmer. And so, but then we started talking about all this military stuff again, you know, and then we got to where I was living, and then he stops me right before I get out, and then he's like, you know, and then he drops the bomb. He drops the bomb though, and then he's like, you know what I've really been interested in though is aliens, you know, and then I didn't know anything. Because I was 25 years old, I was awakening up. I didn't know anything about the time about aliens or anything, but you know, that was a definite approach, you know, by a person in the secret space program that was monitoring, you know, because they're always monitoring me. They show. I've been approached so many times, so they'll show up anywhere.
Have you ever had any other encounters with this particular individual?
That particular individual, I have not, but I have had encounters with another particular individual.
Oh, well, if you could, go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, get ready to get your mind blown.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
All right. So as I'm waking up to this stuff, you know, I'm searching for answers, and I'm in contact with the secret agent from the ACIO. And I'm speaking with him. I'm in contact with him now because I'm doing missions. He's a time traveler from the future, so you know it's like that. So basically, this man he told me, because I was curious. I was like, am I going to be approached? You know, because my 16-year contract is coming to a close here. That's why I'm remembering. I'm full total recall. That's why this is happening to me. And so I was like, am I going to be approached? And this is how I know the information on the files is true, you know, and real, is because this event actually happened, and he said it would happen before it did. So what did happen was I asked him if I would be approached, and then he said, yes, you will be approached. And I'm like, by who? And he's like, you will be approached by Lincoln Clay. Okay. Now, Lincoln Clay is actually a video game character on a game called Mafia 3, but he is actually, and this is disclosure, they show real people on video games and movies, and so this guy actually, and he's actually head of all super soldiers and head Milabs in black operations, pretty much. You know, he's the head of it all. And what happened to me was, he's like, you will be approached by Lincoln Clay in 2 months. He told me 2 months. Okay. So, and I've been on missions with this guy, because when I get taken beyond the veil, you know, beyond the firmament, where I'm going beyond time, I'm doing missions with this guy, but I'm getting my memory erased of it. So and he was approaching me to get me to start remembering again. So what happened was, I was walking through the forest one day, okay, just through the forest, and when this happened, I lived out in the middle of nowhere, you know, in a podunk town with 2 stoplights on it, you know, and so I'm walking to do my martial arts in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and there's a man standing in my you know, in my line of path, and I'm walking past him, and I would have walked right past him and not said anything, but once again he approached me. You know, he questioned me, and so he was like, hey, are you that MMA fighter? And I'm like, yeah, I do fight, and this is in the middle of nowhere, you know, this. And I'm like, yeah, I fight MMA. You know, I have a fight coming up, and you know, I'm getting ready for it. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, I've seen you. I've definitely seen you fight a few times, and you're really good. And you know, I'll be there this time too. And I'm like, whoa, what about, you know, you? I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, and actually he had a Marine Corps sweatshirt on too.
Uh-huh.
Right. He had a green Marine Corps sweatshirt on.
Right.
And I'm like, what about you, man? Like, what are you doing here and stuff? And he's like, oh, I'm just watching my kid play baseball, but I just got off of deployment. And I'm like, and then I'm like, well, you know, I'm like, welcome back, you know, welcome back. But the
Right.
deployment he was talking about was obviously shit we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so basically, you know, we closed up the conversation, and I'm walking away, and he basically comes up to me again and shakes his hand, and shakes my, you know, shakes my hand, and he's like, oh, by the way, he's like, my name's Jay. And which is really very, it's not Lincoln Clay, but it's very close, you know.
Right.
So he was in a way, he was telling me who he was, you know. So but I mean, this is all secret, this is all, you know, a lot of, you know, so it's what's happening is they're warming me up, basically, you
Do you
know,
think you had like
to
a
when
no, go
what's
ahead.
that?
No, I was
Well, basically,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
it's. I was just gonna say, I'm getting warmed up for when, you know, because it's all in time too, because you got Nibiru coming, you got everything going on, you know. So you know, I know that I'm getting warmed up for you know, when the actual existence of all this can be revealed.
I'm glad you said that, because later on we're gonna go even deeper into some of that stuff. But let's start to go deep. Let's talk about your experiences here. What year did you say you actually left this planet? You were 16?
What I believe happened to me was because when I was when I was 16 was when I figured out was when my contract began. So that was when they took me to the future or wherever they're operating from, you know, and it is from the future pretty much, because that's where all the wars were going on, where everything needed to be handled. So they're coming back here to take people then, you know. So that at 16, that's when I was taken out of this timeline, you know, on my super soldier timeline, and that's where all my memories began. And then I'm starting to put together all my memories chronologically, because all my memories I'm remembering non-linearly, but I have to put them together chronologically, which is what I'm working on. But like you did ask, I do remember one of the first things I remember is actually the Earth actually like going away from me. Like if this was the Earth, I remember it just going away like that. You know, like I was going somewhere else, which I believe was to the moon, which is where the training begins, like at the Lunar Operations Command. And I actually do remember memories of being in classrooms, being taught by Nazis. And I have a memory of being taught in a classroom where Hitler was on a screen, you know, and I was being taught with a whole bunch of children. And then I also have a memory of being taught by a woman, a blonde woman. And basically we were getting this introductory course on the Hennebu. The Hennebu craft was sitting right there. And we were all getting taught.
Now, were you brought to a different timeline to be taught this? You said you were being taught by Germans or Nazis.
Right. That is where it starts getting complicated and hard to understand and all this stuff, because the time travel comes in. But I'm just trying to I'm just trying to tell you kind of what's going on, because they're still up there, you know what I'm saying? Right. So yeah, and so that's what was happening with me, is because I was part of the breakaway. I'm part of the breakaway, you know, as being part of the Sacred Space Program, you're part of the breakaway civilization. So that's where I believe the Nazi influence came in there, the Nazi teaching, because you do the training on the Lunar Operations Command, which is where I remember, you know, going through simulations there, you know, where there are things chasing you, monsters, aliens, everything. It's holographic. You're going through simulations there. And I remember being with other children going through this, and you're basically getting ready and prepared for your deployment to where I believe I went next was Mars.
Now, did
So.
you just have your consciousness transferred, or was this just your whole physical self and they age regressed you?
Right, and that's where you get into it, is because what they do is they do take you. They in the beginning they take you fully, your body, everything,
Right.
and what they do is they do a soul transfer, and they basically put you through trauma to be able to do a soul transfer, and they take your DNA, they clone you. So how the technology works is they can do when they do need you as a super soldier is they can just take my body. I could just be laying here, and they could just take my consciousness out of my body and then place it into a clone, and then do whatever mission needs to be done in whatever timeline. Because what can be done, what I'm involved in is time travel. So if this in a clone, send me back in time, and I'll do a mission back in like World War II, which I have memories of. So.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about Mars. Tell us what you remember about Mars. Any particular missions? I mean, we'll get into ETs and everything, but tell us, just some basics about what you remember about Mars.
Yeah, basically, so what I was doing on Mars is, you could consider it, because I was a super soldier for the Industrial Corporate Conglomerate, the ICC, and what's going on there on Mars is basically it's a civilization, but ETs and humans are living together. It's a whole different world, and basically, you can see it on movies like a lot of movies, Total Recall, Judge Dredd. It's that kind of society. And what I was responsible for was, I was basically like Judge Dredd. I was part of a force that was responsible for criminal activity or everywhere, and then cleaning up that force. Being in providing justice through being the judge, jury, and executioner. And I basically have memories of there are multiple memories of me being I'm basically rescuing on a rescue mission, and a craft comes and comes to pick up me and who I'm rescuing, and there was a giant worm chasing us. And just as I got on the craft, I had to pick up a huge weapon and discharge it at the worm while we were evacuating. And that was on Mars, because the surroundings, because all these memories that are coming back are on, I don't know what planet it could be on, but I do believe that memory was from Mars, because the environment was, it was that kind of environment, like Grand Canyon, tintish, that kind of
air breathable on Mars? Is there an atmosphere?
Yes, in places, yes, because they are terraforming it, and yes, in places, it's like Phoenix, Arizona.
Now, was there some sort of war going on while you were there?
Yes, with the mantids, and the mantids are a force that is there, and because I actually do have memories of being involved with battle with mantids, and they are very, very scary. You know what I'm saying? They're very scary, and I also have memories on Mars of having to defend a base against an entity that was not physical. It was electrical. It was like plasma. And I remember having to respond to a defense call where we had to actually, because I remember the memory where I'm sitting here, I wake up, I have FN 4000, and I'm going to go and shoot these plasma beams or whatever the hell they were. But that was on Mars too. So.
Now, were these beings, were they originally from that planet, or are these they come from different planets, or were they indigenous to Mars? These mantle things?
Yeah, I believe that the mantids are indigenous to Mars, and that's why there's a war going on there, because basically Dark Fleet and the breakaway civilization just went in there and just started, taking over everything, Solar Warden and all that. That's what they do is that what they've been doing is conquest. And, unfortunately, part of my time as a super soldier was involved in part of that, in being involved in wars that were involved with taking over planets. So, yes, there are indigenous beings to Mars, that they aren't happy that we're there.
Now, were your bases underground, or were they above ground bases?
Above ground.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were breaking up that whole time.
On Mars, I remember being above ground, but I'm sure there's definitely underground bases as well, because it's just like here.
So take us through some of the most memorable experiences, terrifying, some of the maybe some battles you've been through, some of the most, extraordinary memories you can remember from being on Mars.
Well, I mean, okay, I've been to, as being a super soldier, I've been to 162 planets. Okay, I mean, this is, I mean, when your consciousness, you just have to expand it. I expand it a lot because for me, I have so many memories that it is difficult for me to put what planet I'm on. So I just basically remember the memory. Okay, and then I'll remember if I'm either on Earth or or somewhere else, and it will be obvious because the environment. There'll be alien skies where I'll look up and it's pretty obvious that the Big Dipper isn't there. It's something else. Like stuff like that. But one of the, there have been pretty definitive memories that I've had, it basically one of the very most defined memories that I've had was I remember being on a planet, and someone was discharging a weapon on the planet, a very powerful weapon. Like it was powerful. And I remember seeing the weapon being discharged. And basically there was an evacuation going on the planet. I was part of an evacuation team there, because I'm done with the dark side now. I'm actually on the Alliance's side. I actually am involved with rescue missions, which I'll get into as well. I'll get into the next rescue mission after this one. Yeah. But okay, basically, so on that mission, the weapon was being discharged, very powerful. We were there on an evacuation mission. I was in a city, and this city, it was advanced. It was an advanced city. It was like what you would imagine the future would look like. And I was there helping with the evacuation, and basically the weapon was coming down, and it was destroying everything. It was destroying the whole city because the city was on a coast, and I could just see the blast coming at me. It was coming at me, just about ready to take us out. And what happened was all of a sudden I saw the blast, but all of a sudden I'm going to explain to you what I experienced was basically all these like light glints and time fractures happening all around me. It just started getting really light, and then everything stopped and slowed down. And this is what super soldiers are capable of doing, because they can move so fast. They can slow time down. So basically that's what I was experiencing for the first time. This was the first time I experienced actually using an ability. And so what happened was everything slowed down, and I could just see the glass just coming at me so slow. And what it gave me time to do was there was actually a female ET right next to me, and I was able to jump on her, and then the blast went over me, and then I woke up from the memory. And yeah, so that was one instance of a rescue that I've been on. But just recently, I was on another rescue. I mean, I've been on a lot of rescue missions because we're rescuing the children from the underground bases, you know, the ones that are doing all the reptilian satanic wars, you know, all the sacrifices. There is a force going around rescuing the children from these bases, because I actually have memories of doing it. And so one of the memories I actually had was I had to infiltrate an underground base, and I had to I remember having to take out a guard, because, you know, I had to just, it was a regular guard, but I had to take him out. Being in the base, but having to use telekinesis, because I remember throwing shit around, you know, and we were actually rescuing the kids from that base, because I remember a memory where we were outside of the base after I had obviously got them out, and I was with, I believe, 3 of them, and we were actually escaping. And then what happened was we got caught by one of their, what they call runners. I'm a runner too, but it's one of their super soldiers, and this thing is dark, and so that thing was like, you could say about like 400 yards away from me when I saw it, because I remember the kids being right here, and they're teenagers. But I remember seeing it, and then all of a sudden it was right in my face. It teleported. It was right in my face, and it teleported right in front of my face. And I obviously had to fight it, but I don't remember it because I woke up, you know. And so that was another rescue mission, because when I had that memory, I got into contact with, because when I have these recalls, I get into contact with the agent from the ACIO, and he tells me, and he confirms everything. Like, he's like, yes, you were on a mission. That mission actually was in Czechoslovakia, you know, and I remember seeing you there, and he just confirms it all every time. So that's what I go through.
Have you ever had any encounters with reptilians or Draco?
You know, I actually do. I've been infiltrated as a reptilian into the reptilians. so yes, yeah, because what they can do is having, as a super soldier, you know, I'm like, you are a spy, and they can take your consciousness out, and they can put you in a cloned reptilian body. So I actually have memories of being in a cloned reptilian body with the reptilians. So I know I've seen the reptilians, man.
Now, to the best of your ability, can you just give us a description of what you remember a reptilian looking like?
Okay. I mean, they are they're upright, standing. They do have tails, you know, like and they are you know, they look like reptiles, and just,
how tall were they?
Taller than human, you know, definitely taller than human, but they look like what you think they look like. They just have the arm, they stand upright, they have tails, and the ones that they aren't like crazily scarily looking, you know, they just look like reptiles, you know, like a raptor or something like that, you know.
Now, your experience, you would probably have a better understanding of what the Anunnaki are than most, because I know there's so much confusion. Have you ever encountered any Anunnaki?
Oh man, like that is the thing, is because in my awakening experience, my mentor, whose name is Ramtha, he's always been he always tells you, you know, because in the mystery schools you're initiated into knowledge, you know, and you know, you're not ready to hear something before you're ready to hear it. And the one thing that he's always that he said is, you know, you're not ready to hear this, you know, about about pretty much the Anunnaki, because there are just beings that are so beyond our imagining, you know, we would seeing them basically would change you forever. And I mean, I've had experiences where I've seen what I believe were angels, and that is what I think that I was having an experience with the Anunnaki men. And they're higher dimensional beings. So I mean, it's hard to explain seeing something that's higher dimensional, because it just basically like appears like light, you know, to you, whether it's of a dark nature or whether of it's a good nature, you know. So I know that being part of this, I've had experiences with the Anunnaki, but I'm still like I said, the iceberg with what I'm remembering.
And now, are you still going on missions?
Yes, I am. I'm currently involved in missions right now, because just recently, I mean every night pretty much, because just recently, and I can link this, September 1st, actually, the night before September 1st, I had a mission, or had a dream, or a recall, where I was with a Delta Force team, a Black Ops Delta Force team, and we were actually on a raid, and we were going through a sewer, and basically I just had that little memory recall, that snippet, and then the next day, QAnon had posted up that a Delta Force Black Ops team had raided a Clinton stronghold in Borneo. So I believe that I was needed for that mission, and I was actually on it. And then actually I have one more as well, because 2 weeks ago, because this is a pretty serious one, because this is really going on, because we're fighting hard right now against the Cabal. I mean, and they're using super soldiers, and I am in it. You know, I'm in the fight, because about 2 weeks ago, I had a memory recall where I was on a ship, and basically we were overlooking the Earth, and you could see the Earth, you know, and then I was in like a squad bay with some other super soldiers. And then the next memory I remember was we were getting ready to go on a mission, because we were, once again, there was about 2 squads of us, and we were doing all our pre-checks. I remember standing here with because these guys are like operators, you know, just imagine what a Delta Force operator is, you know, and everybody's like that. And so basically we were getting ready to go on a mission. And I mean, I just remember doing my pre-checks, you know, I had what appeared to be a saw, an advanced saw. And basically I remember the commander of the mission telling the other guys that they had to protect me, you know, and I was like, I remember being like, okay, you know, whatever. And then I remember going into the transport to get ready to go on the mission. And then I remember having the memory, because this is where I woke up to being consciously aware of like, and then I was just like, oh shit. I was like, I want to be home right now. You know, that was the because I was waking up. And then because they had told us in the brief that there was going to be extreme firefighting going on, you know, and so on the way to the transport, I was like, holy shit, this is real. You know, I'm on a fucking mission right now. And so we, on the transport, we went to the area of operation, and as soon as they opened up the doors, everyone started getting fucking taken out around me. You know, I mean, just imagine that. Everyone was getting taken out around me. And then I was able to get out. I was able to get out of the transport, and I was looking out, and I remember acquiring a target on a higher rise, and then I woke up from that memory. So that I'm on missions right now.
Now,
definitely.
Do you think that you've ever been severely damaged or maimed, and they can just transfer your conscious into another clone before you die? Has that ever happened to you, or do you have any memories of anything like that?
Yeah, that's what happens, is because, if you get fucked up, your conscious, they just take your consciousness out, and then put it into another one. I have memories of dying, and, yeah, so there's clones getting taken out, but, I'm able to remember these memories because, there's 5% of the Milabs that, the bleed throughs, they come through, and I'm part of that 5% of being able to remember the memories, because there's a lot of people out there that are actually Milabs too, that have no idea that they are.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know.
Now let's talk for a few minutes about what's going on right now behind the scenes. Now, I know you said there's a war going on with the cabal, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. Our earth changes are going crazy. I mean, there's so many people waking up. The QAnon phenomenon, it seems like that we're just living in the twilight zone. We're living in fascinating times right now. We really are. So let's talk about what's going on right now and where we're going. I know you said something about Nibiru. I cover a lot of Planet X stuff. So let's talk about this. Are we in some sort of planned tribulation right now?
Like, I can tell you this: the timeline has shifted. We have shifted into another timeline, and that's what we're experiencing. And like you said, it's a twilight zone because we're in another timeline right now than we were before, and we're kind of trying to get, we're trying to understand what happened, which is basically with Trump coming in, because Trump is the main key factor of this whole disclosure transition, everything coming in, because at the end times, because the whole thing about this is you can't stop Planet X from coming, and so that's what the elites all knew about, and they were going to hide that from everybody, till the very end, and basically, but there's now going to be intervention now, since we as a collective have because we actually shouldn't, the earth shouldn't be here, but we have done something in order to ascend this planet to where now we're getting the intervention from the higher beings, to where they're going to help us through this whole entire calamity, which is there's a hidden hand helping through everything, because you can see Trump, there's probably been so many countless assassination attempts on him, and so many other attempts, like with bringing him down with the Ballsy Ford case, and every single thing is to bring him down, because they know that he's going to be bringing in the real new world order, which is like, advanced technology, truth being out, disclosure, all that, because that's what's been hidden from humanity. That's what's been held back from us, is everything that they've been holding back. And so basically, ever since he's been in office, there's been a deep state cabal takedown, because the military basically switched sides, because they saw the corruption, because they started to see that there was more than met the eye, with Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, George Bush, because they were all fucking responsible, and the CIA all responsible for 9/11. All that was a CIA op. All Bush, they're all involved in it. Barry Sordo is all involved with that CIA op to bring him in, to the United States to be our president, which he's really an imposter. That was brought in to bring in this destruction of America plan, and I mean that's what the cabal was doing, but there has been intervention now since Trump is in. So I mean, there's just so much going on right now, but it's getting cleared up, which is the good thing. It wouldn't be cleared up though, if there wasn't the intervention, because the intervention is actually Palladian guidance. The Palladians are the ones that are, because I mean, there's like Palladian special forces working with Delta Force. The Palladians are basically the ones that are helping us the most, because they are our brothers and sisters that are basically us from the future, and they're going to be the ones that we see for first contact, you know.
Now, is it the Draco that is basically in charge of the Cabal? I mean, are they working with reptilians?
Yes, the Draco is the head of the eye of the Cabal, you know, and they have all of their minions, like the Greys beneath them, that do the abductions, but the Dracos are at the head of the crown, you know, of the Illuminati, of the Dark Illuminati.
So let's talk a minute about Nibiru. What do you know about that? I mean, do you know of any timeline? Is it going to cause the mass destruction that we hear about online? You know, what do you know about it?
Okay, here I will explain about this. Okay, because it is coming. There's no doubt about that, because it's been recorded in our history, but it's been trounced out to not, so nobody knows, you know. But it is coming, and we're destroyed because there's in consciousness as well. My mentor explained this to me. He's a higher dimensional being. There's so much intervention happening to where Nibiru isn't going to be the destructive force that it's been in the past, because I mean, there's even stuff that the sun's doing from keeping it from being as destructive as it could be, you know. But what it is 2019. I'm talking 2019, you know, 2020, because I keep having dreams of seeing two suns in the sky. I've actually had memories where I was astral traveling and I saw Nibiru in our system, you know, by our sun. And so, I mean, that's why I'm so adamant on saying that it is coming. I'm obviously, I'm not like November 11, 2021, you know, I don't know exactly, but it's like 2019, 2020, because where I'm coming from is from a future where this has already happened. So, you know, and there's going to be this big transition into that future, because the future is, we're transitioning into it. We're right now, I believe we're in the fourth dimension, you know, because we're getting out of the third, because what we had to do was we had to get out of the third in order to ascend in our consciousness. But once you get out of the third, you go into the fourth, and then the fifth, and then all. So it goes fast. So once we get out of the fourth into the fifth dimension, it's going to go fast with going into dimensions.
All right, so let's take these last few minutes and let's talk about your involvement in the mystery school and sort of like your healing work. And are you in the Illuminati?
Yes, I am in the Illuminati. And I am definitely one of the light ones, because, you know, in the Illuminati, there's two sides, and one side holds the light of truth for manipulation, control, and one side holds the light of truth for knowledge and you know, understanding and peace. And what I have found out is I'm also a Freemason as well. And I've been in the mystery schools. I was in mystery schools in past lives. I remember being initiated in Egypt. I actually remember, you know, being in the temples as an initiate and being initiated in Egyptian times. And then only to find out in this life by going into a mystery school in this life that I've been in mystery schools in past lives as well. So in the mystery schools, it is all about healing, manifestation, and meditation and martial arts. And I mean, those are the key to immortality. And, you know, I definitely practice all those things, because when I started healing, I started doing the Merkaba light body meditation. If you know what that is, it's in The Secret of the Flower of Life by Dronvala Melchizedek. And the light body meditation is basically reactivating your tetrahedral structure around your body to start bringing in higher dimensional energies. And so basically, when I started practicing that, I haven't been sick, and I've been doing it for 5 years now. I do it every single day in the morning. I am not sick. I'm not anything. I cannot be affected, because I'm practicing that light body meditation. So, you know, and plus the manifestation happens as well for me too. It's almost ridiculous about the manifestation, because basically, in what I'm going to be doing in the future is I'm going to be teaching people martial arts, and you know, and which I'm doing now. But basically, for manifestation, what happened to me one time was I was just basically, I mean, this is just one instance. I'm basically randomly walking around in town. You know, I could be anywhere, but then some person shows up out of nowhere that I know from my past, and he has books that actually have to do with martial arts. You know, and he's like, hey, I just have these books for you, man. You know, but that's like helping you obviously get on your path, you know, from a higher level, this is all being seen from, you know.
So where do you see?
So there's, yeah, in the mystery school, I go through the mystery school I go through is the Ramtha School of Enlightenment. And basically there they do teach telepathy, telekinesis, manifestation. Basically what people will do is they'll put blindfolds on, and they'll send Zender cards to each other telepathically, and they'll do sending and receiving. So they start opening up their latent brain, you know, and then they'll start learning telepathy. And then some of the most advanced students are capable of blindfolding themselves. And then they will actually, in the CIA, they send their people in here they send their people into that school to find out what's going on all the time, you know, because they want to know what's going on. And basically the most advanced students of that school can put on a blindfold, and they can walk like 1,000 yards out and find a labyrinth, and then navigate their way through that labyrinth to the center.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there's some very supernatural abilities that we have that mystery school is definitely trying to get out of people, but no one understands it. And everybody outside the mystery school, it's funny, they think it's demonic and the devil, and they think Ramtha is a demon and stuff like that. But everybody has a different experience there if they don't understand it. You know, and
there is a lot of misunderstanding about it. Now, you keep saying Ramtha. Describe who Ramtha is.
Okay, I will, because he is basically a 35,000-year-old Lemurian warrior who, back in his time on the earth 35,000 years ago, he didn't die, he ascended. You know, and basically he's as a higher dimensional being with other higher dimensional beings. They're here teaching people how to do that. And basically how he did it back in his day was he was a barbarian. He was going across the whole world killing everybody, you know, but that's obviously not the main part of life, you know. And basically where that led him to was he got stabbed with a sword on a rock, and he had to stay alive. To stay alive, he had to sit up, and he had to actually stay alive and not die. And basically for 7 years, he contemplated life while the moon waxed and waned, and the sun came over, and birds and all that stuff. So, and then he ascended, you know, and he actually, and that's where, you know, if you're in the mystery school, he tells a story, but I didn't believe that even for me, and I'm very spiritual. It took me a long time to believe the things that I believe now, you know, but I actually do believe and know these things are true. So they're, you know, quite amazing.
Assuming he's reincarnated into a physical being that you can actually communicate with. Am I correct?
No, definitely he channels. It's a channel, yes, and basically part of the ascension is getting taught by channel teachings, you know. But obviously it has to be the right ones, and through Ramtha and also Cryon. Cryon is another channel teaching where that is coming from the other side of the veil, you know, and they're coming from the other side of the veil, getting people ready for the veil to come down. And they've been doing that for most of these entities have been here, and this is part of the whole mission. You know, this is part of the big galactic mission. You know, most of these entities have been doing this for about 25 years, getting people prepared for this time. because they were talking about this 25 years ago to people about the cabal and the new world order and Planet X. But back then people didn't, it didn't matter, but now it does because it's going on.
So where do you see our planet going in the next, say, even 5 years?
Oh man. Okay. So what is going to happen is it's going to be called the Great Intimidation. Okay. And this is going to involve a lot of different stuff because you got Nibiru coming. You're going to have things coming decloaked in the sky. You're going to be seeing like cities in the sky because the veil's going to be coming down. And basically, it's very thin because I've seen things behind it. If that makes sense, I'm starting to see things behind it, and so it's becoming very thin. And what's going to happen is the Great Intimidation is going to happen, and the secret government is basically going to try their last false flag. They're going to, because they've just been throwing false flags everywhere, and this is their final card where they're gonna show their technology to try to intimidate and all that stuff. But then since we have raised our consciousness, there's going to be another showing. There's going to be another showing of an even higher, lighter force, and they are going to basically trump out what the dark forces are going to be trying to do, because they're going to be basically. There's probably going to be some attacking going on, but only for maybe a short time. So but because this has to happen. That was the other thing. Because everybody's going to see the battle. They're going to see the battle. You know what I'm saying? They're going to see the battle, and that's going to be what the Great Intimidation is. Because my mentor talks about it when the veil comes down. That's when everybody's going to see the battle, and then that's what they call the 12 days of light. It's going to be the 12 days of light, which is going to obviously be like the veil's down, people are seeing what's really going on, and it's going to be what there's going to be obviously many different reactions, but there's going to be four different reactions. There's going to be the first people that are scared shitless. And they're shitting their pants, obviously, because this is just crazy. There's going to be the second ones that are in worship. They're praising. Because they're obviously these beings are more advanced, so they're going to be worshiping them. There's going to be the third group that these are going to be all the intellectuals that are all like, I told you, they're here, they're finally here. I told you, and they're going to be going crazy. And then there's going to be the fourth ones that are just that knew it came, that knew this was happening, and we're ready to connect. You know what I'm saying? We're ready now to become part of a higher dimension.
So after all this happens, is this going to be a better planet for everyone? Is this going to be like a new Earth?
Yeah, from what I understand from the higher dimensional beings and stuff, you got to understand, it's hard to explain and it's complicated, but it is going to split off into two different Earths, though, because there are going to be some people that don't want to go to the higher dimensions, so they'll go on into they'll stay here, but there's going to be another Earth that is going to go into the higher dimension, and those people are going to go with it. And, it is going to be better there because it will just be a whole nother experience, because basically everybody there, what you do is going to help everybody. Everybody's jobs everybody's going to help each other. What people do is going to help each other and help the whole. And it will be like it's going to be like, we'll be back together again as a civilization, because the technology that will be, given to us will bring us together, and that will start making things more thriving and prosperous. And at once, and so the future is bright for those that are going to ascend.
Well, Anthony, that was an amazing, fascinating story. Before we head out for tonight, is there any messages that you'd like to leave everyone with?
Yes, it's just from what I've learned here on this earth, it's not easy, you know, and we did our souls came here against the odds. You know, the odds were stacked against us because we came in against just a dark force that was definitely planning on enslaving humanity and everybody, and that is very unfortunate for us, but we came here for a reason, and we came here so that that wouldn't happen. And so the more that we can become sovereign and not dependent on the system, and not dependent on, you know, things, you know, being easy for us because that's how they want it, you know, and you just connect with your true soul calling, you know, you will find purpose in why you're here, and you know, it will be worth it.
Very good. Very well said. Anthony, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. That was an amazing conversation. There's so much more that we could talk about, so I'm going to have you back on. And you have a great night. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. You too, man. And if you want to have me back on, I'd be more than welcome. So there's a lot to talk about.
All right. Well, you have a good night.
You too.
All right. Thanks.